For years, Diana felt like someone was watching her in her own home. Then she found the secret tunnel under her bedroom and discovered Camilla had been visiting Charles at night in Diana's own house. November 1994, 2:47 a.m. Princess Diana woke to a sound she'd heard countless times before, a low creaking like footsteps on old wood coming from somewhere beneath her bedroom floor. For 3 years, she'd dismissed it as the building settling, as palace staff had assured her, but tonight, exhausted and unable to sleep, she decided to follow the sound. Diana wrapped herself in her dressing gown and stepped into the hallway of Kensington Palace. The sound was clearer here, definitely footsteps, moving beneath the ground floor. She descended the main staircase, following the creaking to the west wing of the palace, an area she rarely visited because it housed Charles's private study and sitting room. The sounds led her to Charles's study door. Light showed beneath it. At nearly 3 a.m., someone was inside. Diana's hand trembled as she reached for the handle. It was locked. She knocked. The sounds inside stopped immediately. Complete silence. Then footsteps moving away from the door, growing fainter, disappearing. But there was no other exit from Charles's study. She knew the layout of this palace intimately. The next morning, Diana confronted Charles at breakfast. The dining room at Kensington Palace felt cavernous with just the two of them seated at opposite ends of the long table. Staff moved quietly around them, serving tea and toast. Diana waited until they were alone before speaking. "Who was in your study at 3 a.m. last night?" Charles didn't look up from his newspaper, the Times folded precisely beside his plate. "I have no idea what you're talking about." "I heard someone, Charles. Footsteps beneath the floor, sounds coming from your study. I knocked on the door, the light was on. Someone was inside, and then they ran away. But there's no other door from that room, Charles. How did they leave?" Charles finally looked up, his expression carefully neutral. "You're imagining things again, Diana. Perhaps you should speak to your therapist about these paranoid episodes. Dr. Morrison did say you've been under considerable stress." Diana felt the familiar knot in her stomach, the one that appeared every time Charles dismissed her reality with clinical precision. "I'm not imagining anything. I know what I heard. Do you?" Charles returned to his newspaper. "Because this isn't the first time you've made these sorts of claims. Remember last month when you insisted someone had moved items in your wardrobe? And the month before when you claimed staff were watching you? Dr. Morrison says these delusions are classic symptoms of—" "Stop." Diana's voice was sharp enough that Charles actually paused. "Don't gaslight me with medical terminology you don't understand. Someone was in your study at 3 a.m., that's a fact. What isn't a fact is your explanation for how they disappeared from a locked room with one door." Diana felt the familiar gaslighting, the casual dismissal designed to make her question her own sanity. But she knew what she'd heard. Someone had been in that study, and they had vanished impossibly. She waited until Charles left for an engagement, then returned to his study with her personal protection officer, Inspector Philip Wright. "Philip, I need you to help me understand something. Last night, someone was in this room. I heard them. But when I knocked, they disappeared. Is there another way out?" Philip examined the room carefully. Bookshelves lined 3 walls, a large window on the 4th. "No other door, ma'am, just the one entrance." "Then where did they go?" Philip walked slowly around the perimeter, examining the walls. When he reached the bookshelf on the east wall, he paused. "Ma'am, this is odd. There's a draft coming from behind these books. Quite strong." Diana joined him. He was right. Cold air flowed through the gaps between books. Philip carefully removed several leather-bound volumes, revealing not solid wall behind them, but darkness. A gap. An opening. "My God," Diana whispered. "There's something behind this bookshelf." Philip pushed against the shelf. It didn't budge. He examined the sides, running his hands along the wood. His fingers found a small indentation, barely visible. When he pressed it, something clicked. The entire bookshelf section swung inward, revealing a narrow passage descending into darkness. Diana stared into the black opening. "How long has this been here?" "This is part of the original palace structure, ma'am. These passages exist throughout older royal buildings, but they're supposed to be sealed. This one is clearly in use." Diana grabbed a torch from Charles's desk. "I'm going down." "Ma'am, I must advise against—" "I'm going down, Philip. You can come with me or stay here." The passage was narrow, the ceiling low, requiring them to crouch. Stone steps descended steeply, worn smooth by centuries of use and recent traffic. The air was cold and damp. After approximately 40 steps, the passage leveled out into a tunnel, roughly 6 feet high and 4 feet wide, running in a straight line away from Charles's study. They walked for what felt like 5 minutes, the torch beam showing nothing but endless stone walls and ceiling. Water stains marked the ancient stone, and in some places Diana could see where the mortar between bricks had been recently repaired. Someone was maintaining this passage. Someone was using it regularly. Then the tunnel began ascending. Another set of stairs, these ones newer looking than the entrance stairs, leading upward. At the top, another hidden door. This one had a modern lock on it, recently installed, Diana noticed. Someone had upgraded the security on this end of the tunnel. "Where are we?" Diana asked, her torch sweeping across the door's surface. Philip checked his compass, then pulled out a small notebook where he'd been tracking their steps and direction. "If my calculations are correct, ma'am, we've traveled approximately 300 meters east-northeast. Based on our starting point and direction, we should be near Gloucester Road, the residential area." Diana's stomach tightened. She knew exactly who lived near Gloucester Road, but she needed to be sure. She pushed against the door. It opened into darkness. She swept the torch around and gasped. They were in a bedroom. An elegantly furnished bedroom with a large 4-poster bed, antique furniture, and personal items scattered about. The walls were painted a deep cream color, with landscape paintings Diana recognized. She'd seen photographs of this room in tabloid articles about Camilla's home. Heavy curtains blocked the windows, explaining why the room was so dark despite being mid-morning. On the nightstand, illuminated by Diana's torch beam, a framed photograph. Diana walked closer, her legs feeling unsteady. It was Charles and Camilla, arms around each other, smiling. The photo was recent. Charles was wearing a suit Diana had seen him purchase just 6 months ago. They were standing in front of what looked like a Scottish hunting lodge. Both looked happy, relaxed, comfortable, like a couple who belonged together. "We're in Camilla's house," Deanna said, her voice hollow. "This tunnel connects Charles's study directly to Camilla Parker Bowles's bedroom. Under my home, beneath our bedroom. There's a secret highway running beneath Kensington Palace that Charles uses to visit his mistress." Philip was silent, clearly uncomfortable with this discovery. Diana's mind was racing. All this time, all these years. While I was sleeping in our bedroom, Charles had a private tunnel to visit his mistress. In my own home, under my own bedroom. She walked around Camilla's bedroom, seeing evidence of recent occupation, a teacup on the dresser, clothing laid out on a chair. On Camilla's desk, she found something that made her blood run cold. A schedule, handwritten in Camilla's distinctive script. Tuesday 9 p.m., see visiting. Thursday 11 p.m., see visiting. Saturday night, overnight. A calendar of Charles's secret visits, documented in Camilla's own hand. Diana photographed it with the small camera she'd started carrying everywhere since the separation. "Ma'am, we should leave," Philip said quietly. "If someone discovers us here—" "Let them," Diana said. "I want them to know I found this. I want Charles to know I know." But as they turned to leave, Diana noticed something else on Camilla's desk. A leather-bound journal. She opened it. The entries were dated, going back years. She flipped to a recent page and read, "Charles says Diana is becoming suspicious again. She heard him leaving through the passage last night. He told her she was imagining things, experiencing another episode. He's so good at making her doubt herself. She believes she's going mad, when really she's just finally noticing what's been happening under her nose all along." Diana felt physically sick. Not just the betrayal, but the calculated gaslighting, the deliberate effort to make her question her sanity when her instincts had been correct all along. She photographed several pages of the journal, then carefully returned it to its place. "Let's go back." The return journey through the tunnel felt different. Now Diana wasn't discovering something new. She was walking through the physical manifestation of years of lies and betrayal. Every step Charles had taken through this passage was a choice to deceive her, to gaslight her, to make her feel crazy for noticing what was actually happening. Back in Charles's study, Philip helped Diana replace the books, hiding the passage again. "What will you do, ma'am?" "I'm going to talk to my solicitor. This changes everything. Charles has been bringing his mistress into Kensington Palace, into our home, through a secret tunnel while telling me I'm paranoid and delusional. This isn't just adultery, Philip. This is psychological abuse with infrastructure." That afternoon, Diana met with her divorce solicitor, Anthony Matthews, and showed him the photographs. Anthony studied them carefully. This is extraordinary, Your Royal Highness. It proves not only ongoing adultery, but premeditated deception using palace resources. The tunnel itself is technically part of the Crown estate, meaning Charles has been misusing royal property to facilitate his affair. Can we use this in the divorce proceedings? Absolutely. But I need to warn you. If you reveal this publicly, the palace will claim you violated privacy by entering Mrs. Parker Bowles's home without permission. Through a tunnel that connects directly to my home. A tunnel I didn't know existed. A tunnel being used to betray me nightly. I understand, ma'am. I'm simply warning you that they'll fight dirty. They always do. Diana made a decision. I want to confront Charles first. Before lawyers, before courts, before the public. I want him to know that I know, and that I'm not the delusional woman he's tried to make me believe I am. That evening, Diana waited in Charles's study. When he returned from his engagement and found her sitting in his chair, he immediately became defensive. What are you doing in here? Diana stood and walked to the bookshelf. She pressed the hidden button. The passage swung open. Would you like to explain this, Charles? Charles's face went white. How did you? I followed the sounds. The sounds you told me were in my imagination. The sounds you used to make me think I was going crazy. Diana's voice was steady, controlled. I walked through your secret tunnel to Camilla's bedroom. I saw her schedule of your visits. I read her journal entries about how you gaslight me, how you deliberately make me doubt my sanity. Charles recovered his composure. You had no right to enter Camilla's private residence. And you had no right to build a secret highway to your mistress under your wife's bedroom. Diana's control finally cracked. For years, Charles, years. While I slept above, you were sneaking through tunnels to be with her. While you told me I was paranoid, delusional, mentally unstable, you were literally living a double life with infrastructure. Diana, you're being hysterical. Don't you dare try that again. I have photographs. I have evidence. I have Camilla's own journal entries describing how you manipulate me. You've been psychologically torturing me while fucking your mistress in secret passages. That's not hysteria, Charles. That's reality. Charles's jaw tightened. What do you want? I want you to admit it. No more lies, no more gaslighting. Admit you've been using this tunnel to visit Camilla while married to me. Fine. Yes, I've been visiting Camilla. We love each other, Diana. We always have. You were supposed to be a temporary interruption, but you wouldn't play your role properly. You were supposed to give us airs and stay quiet. Instead, you became popular. You started asking questions. You refused to disappear gracefully. The honesty after years of lies was almost shocking. Temporary interruption? I'm your wife. You're the mother of my children. That's all you were ever meant to be. Camilla is the woman I love. Then why marry me at all? Because she was already married, and because the crown requires heirs from a suitable virgin bride. You fit the requirements, but the marriage itself? That was always meant to be a formality. Diana felt like she'd been struck. You married me knowing you'd never love me. You built a secret tunnel to your mistress into our home, and when I noticed, you made me think I was insane. I did what was necessary to maintain appearances while preserving my real relationship. By destroying me? By making me question my own mind? Charles shrugged. You were always too sensitive, Diana. Too emotional. If you'd just accepted the arrangement quietly, none of this would have been necessary. Diana stood. I'm taking this to my solicitor. The tunnel, the journal entries, all of it. You'll be exposed, Charles. Not as a man who had an affair, but as a man who psychologically tortured his wife while living a secret life under her bedroom. The palace will destroy you if you go public with this. The palace will destroy itself when the public learns about the secret tunnel to your mistress. People might tolerate infidelity, Charles. They won't tolerate cruelty and gaslighting. They won't tolerate you making your wife think she was crazy while you were literally tunneling under her bed to fuck Camilla. Diana left the study, leaving Charles standing beside his now exposed secret passage. The next day, she briefed her full legal team. Within a week, carefully worded leaks began appearing in sympathetic media outlets. Sources close to Princess Diana revealed discovery of secret passages in Kensington Palace, allegedly used by Prince Charles for undisclosed purposes. The palace immediately went into damage control mode. Palace spokesmen issued denials. There are historical passages in many royal residences. They are not in regular use. But Diana had photographs. She had Camilla's journal. She had documentation. A television interview was arranged. Diana, speaking to Martin Bashir on Panorama, carefully revealed enough to shock without violating legal restrictions. I found that my instincts about my marriage were completely correct. I'd been told I was imagining things, but I wasn't. I discovered evidence that confirmed everything I suspected. Secret meetings, hidden arrangements, literally hidden beneath where I lived. The public was outraged, not just at the affair, but at the systematic gaslighting. The secret tunnel became a metaphor for Diana's marriage, lies and betrayal happening beneath the surface of the fairy tale. Charles's reputation never recovered. The image of him sneaking through tunnels while his wife slept above became the defining symbol of his betrayal. Camilla retreated from public view, her journal entries making her a villain in the public's eyes. The divorce proceedings moved quickly. Charles's legal team couldn't defend the indefensible. Diana received far more favorable terms than originally offered. The palace wanted the scandal buried. Years later, the tunnel became part of Kensington Palace tours. Guides carefully avoided mentioning its recent use, but everyone knew. The tunnel where a prince betrayed his princess became a permanent reminder of what happened when power and deception built infrastructure. Diana never walked through that tunnel again after Discovery Night, but she never forgot what it represented. Physical proof that her instincts had been right, that she wasn't crazy, that the gaslighting had been real and deliberate. The tunnel proved that sometimes, when people tell you you're paranoid, it's because they're doing exactly what you suspect. The secret passage under Diana's bedroom became legendary not because it was old or historically significant, but because it represented the ultimate betrayal. A man who didn't just cheat but built a hidden highway to do it, then told her she was imagining things. Some betrayals require architecture, and some truths once discovered can never be sealed again.